All right, founders, it's time for another pitch deck critique and review. In this video, we've got a Web3 company that is seeking to raise 500K. They have already raised 100K, and we are going to go through this deck, and I'm going to show you the current version because I think it is about 95% there. Then I'm going to show you how to change it into a screener deck, because this is a bit of a master deck. It's kind of a hybrid in between. Let's get into it. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, seven-time funded founder with 2 exits. That's just a fancy way of saying I've failed a bunch of times, but in my day, I've raised over 9 figures of funding for my startups and other startups and funds, etc. And I like to use videos like this to help founders, especially early stage ones, avoid some of the catastrophic mistakes that I've made in my day, because it's hard enough as it is. The other thing I want to mention is I do not do these pitch deck reviews unless I believe that the founder, the startup, or this entire process will be valuable for everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much for supporting me. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe if you appreciate this type of content. Full disclosure, I have already been involved in this startup as an advisor for quite some time now. They are part of startups.com. If you're watching this, it's because they have graciously let everybody and courageously take a look at their pitch deck and allow me to critique it to create some video content for everybody to learn. Let's dive in. First off, what I always love about this is the sub headline: smart trading cards for the collectibles industry. No marketing fluff in there. It's just very straightforward. This is what we do. This is the industry we're in. Straightforward sub headline. That is a big A+ for me. Next, let's look at the problem statement. In 2022, the NFT market dropped from 19.1 billion to 2.2 billion in value because NFTs, despite utility, are still not collectibles. Meanwhile, collector industries like sports trading cards and memorabilia were worth 33 billion, up from 26.1 billion in 2021. Here we've got showing the reference of where this information comes from. There are so many good things that are happening on this problem statement that I think every founder needs to learn. First of all, we've got some data to show how painful the problem is, and we clearly are defining the reason that this problem exists, because NFTs are still not collectibles. And then there's going to be this gap. We're demonstrating, hey, wait a second, the sports trading cards and memorabilia industry was up to 33 billion from 26.1 billion. So there's a major disparity. Wait a second. The NFT market is going backwards while the sports memorabilia and trading card industry is moving forward. We are clearly showing the size and the severity of the problem. The size of the problem is in billions, and the severity, take a look, we have dropped. And I'm going to show you how to condense this. This statement right here, I think, could be streamlined a lot more. I'm going to show you how to do that in just one moment. Now that we got the problem slide out of the way, we want to get to the solution slide. The solution slide, all good ones, reverse engineer the problem, basically are the inverse. In other words, if you've got a problem that is slow and manual, well, then your solution needs to say it's fast and automated. We're going backwards here and reverse engineering in the sense of this solution says we make physical smart trading cards that bridge the gap between traditional and digital collecting. Remember, there was this gap in the value of traditional and digital collecting, and the solution through Web3 brand experience, increasing the real world value of NFTs. That's important because in the problem statement, we said NFTs are not making money or aren't worth money because they're not collectible. Well, guess what? We have solved this. Now we're going to make NFTs collectible. Now we've got this statement here. Every fidget card is an NFC chip that opens a Web3 experience when tapped by your phone. Here's the thing. We don't need this just yet. So I'm going to get rid of this in the future. We want to just focus on the solution statement. We want to know if the investor is interested in the solution as is. Next slide. We got tap to experience. This is fidget cards. I like this because it's a very strong graphic. You've got pretty much a graphic that explains exactly what's happening. Plus, we got some cool graphics of, I think there's a Bored Ape down here, and that is impressive in terms of, hey, if this investor knows about Bored Apes, if this investor knows about NFTs, this is going to resonate with them. Let me just pause here for a moment and explain that not every investor is going to know what NFTs are. That's okay. This deck is going to appeal to the investor that is familiar with the Web3 space. Even if they're not totally familiar with the way the whole NFT market bottomed out, you are giving them data that is novel. You're explaining to investors, hey, did you know the NFT industry dropped from whatever billions of dollars down to 2.2 billion, while trading cards in sports memorabilia and collector industries is going up? So maybe the investor is not fully aware of what a Bored Ape is or what NFT projects are, but they've heard about the buzz of NFTs because they're in the investment space. And so now you're giving them unique insight, a novel insight into a problem, and you're defining it where they go, huh, I didn't know that. And now I'm looking at the solution, and this solution is going to demonstrate very clearly for those who don't understand what a Bored Ape NFT is. Well, you've got these images that shows exactly how everything works, and especially no app needed. Whereas those who are familiar with the NFT space will understand that typically you need a wallet or some type of app. And in this case, no app needed. All right, so we are looking really good right here in terms of communicating problem solution. Next, fidget cards can be programmed. This is more of a how it works. It gives you a little more detail in terms of programming to open NFTs, and then all data is tracked. That's actually really solid because now we are building the case. This is more like a unique insight slide or a special sauce slide saying that this data is going to be important to bridge the gap between collectability of NFTs versus or in conjunction with trading cards. I like this market slide, always did. Here's how it works here. First, this is sort of your TAM, and this is the TAM, $40 billion, this collectible market. Now, in this TAM, SAM, SOM, we actually skip the SAM and the market opportunity, which is totally fair, instead of just a regular TAM, SAM, SOM type thing. Forgot the TAM there. You are going to go straight into the SOM and say, we are going to focus where collectors buy NFTs and trading cards are more valuable, and these fidget cards would be worth $432 million a year in revenue. So we went for $40 billion, and we said we are going to make $432 million a year. That is how big this market is. This is a big play. This is one of those unicorn plays because your TAM, SAM, SOM, your market has a B attached to it. If you don't have a B in your market, you are not in unicorn territory. But then you look at the SOM, realistically, we can make $432 million. I personally did the math on this, and it makes sense. SOM is $432 million. That means this company could basically be worth $4 billion. That is a really big play, and it falls in line with the NFT market. It falls in line with how big NFTs could be. So your TAM, SAM, SOM has to be commensurate to the size of the industry and the promise of the industry. That's what gets investors excited. We are looking for big fish investors here that eventually this startup is going to have to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. And if you look at ventures like OpenSea and other protocols, Web3 protocols, NFT marketplaces, they have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the arena that we want to play in. Market, continue on. We are partnering with brands in sports, gaming, innovative NFT projects, and secured endorsements and letters of intent for when we launch. Partner list available upon request. This is not necessary in a screener deck, although I do like it when it comes to the slide deck as it is. You want to talk about, hey, we've got things moving already, and these images really help as well, showing that this project is live and well. It actually exists. It's making money right now. It's functional. This is not just a pie in the sky, especially if you're dealing with some type of hardware or physical goods, CPG. You have to show pictures that this stuff exists. We are further along than just an idea on a napkin. That's very helpful, which is the reason you want to make sure that you've got live prototypes going as soon as possible. Next, how it works. Steps 1, 2, 3, very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I like this. It gives me a good idea of how the journey is going to go so that people go, huh, how does this actually work? Now, I'm going to show you a little secret of how I've combined it with some other slides, because this doesn't necessarily have to be in a screener deck. It does help. I'm going to show you how I approach it in a moment. Next, we make percent of every transaction. This is a business model slide, which is great. How we make money is important. You want to put that into your screener decks always. Next, the fidget card experience. More than just linking NFTs to trading cards, I would say this is more of a unique special sauce slide where you're putting this in there. But again, for a screener deck, I am not going to need any of this right here. And I understand that's more than just linking NFTs to trading cards, but we've already established the solution is we're going to make NFTs more valuable by creating trading cards, and we've already shown a lot of great detail. So I think this slide is a bit redundant. The founder might have some opposite opinions of me, but I don't think you have to defend the fact that this is more than linking NFTs to trading cards, but that's just my opinion. Fidget card quality. All right, this is a great slide if you're talking to someone who understands the collector card market. But all this, I'm looking at it right now, and I'll just be straightforward. I don't know what any of this means. A 35 to 120 point card, UV coated die cut, means nothing to me. No app required, no camera required. Well, guess what? We already said this. So this slide, I don't need it. This is more of a technical slide that you're going to show an investor if they want more information. Let's say they are familiar with the collector card industry. You're going to want to show them this, but you want to put this in the appendix and have it available, ready to go, not necessary in a screener deck. Competition, I like this slide. I really do. I like the fact that not only have we become detailed in terms of the features, benefits, matrix, but we've got a little bit of explanations here and there of how it's different. And if you look, embedded NFC chip, there's no other NFC chip located in here. So this is a very good differentiator. So this is fantastic. I really like this. If you are looking for an example of a feature and benefits matrix, this is a good one to take a look at. Highlights, traction. We've got a lot of great things going on here, but there's one huge problem. Way too much information. Nobody's going to read this in a screener deck. I'm going to show you how I did that coming up very shortly. This is the leadership team. Very solid. I want you to pay attention to something here. Look at the experience that we've got. The founder team. This is domain expertise. Upper Deck. This is a huge trading card company, already showing lots of management leadership. Check out Superheat Games, TC Digital Game, Upper Deck Company. They work together, which is really great. That shows that there is a connection in there, and there's chemistry between the founders. Upper Deck, here we are again. Here's another connection. All these people working at Upper Deck, and look at all the years of experience that we've got in terms of the different trading cards. Here's another company, Upper Deck. Therefore, you could tell investor, listen, Upper Deck is a massive company doing over $1 billion in terms of total market size and value because they are part of this massive multi-billion-dollar trading card industry. Yeah, this team comes from that industry. Based on expertise alone, this company, this startup is going to get additional looks from investors because they know what they're talking about when it comes to trading cards. Let me stop here for a moment and say how much of an advantage this is. Let's say that an investor's talking and someone has Web3 experience. It went really well in 2021, but start to flail in 2022 when the market completely bottomed out. What the investor is going to ask is, well, what makes what you're doing now different than all the Web3 debacle that happened back then? And if you are a founder with just Web3 experience, you're going to have a harder time answering that question because you're going to have to share, we've learned from our Web3 experience and gone through and done this next version of Web3. Now look at this team has got a contrarian approach to the market. This team can say, aha, yeah, you know what we did? We observed the NFT and we saw the problems a mile away because we are executives with a boatload of expertise, domain expertise, insights, experience in the trading card industry. So we are going to take our experience in trading cards and transfer that to NFTs. And we believe everybody else doing NFTs this way has got it all wrong. We're going to do it this way, and you want to make a bet on us. We are contrarian to the way the market is going, and that is going to attract a certain type of investor that goes, thanks. Remember, I was talking about unique and novel insight. They're going to say, thank you for showing me that insight. Yeah, I'm going to bet on this team with decades of experience in trading cards that's already worth something, and now we're going to come with a unique and novel solution in the marketplace. That's what you want to do. So if you're a founder and you've got domain expertise and experience and you can be contrarian, and other people, investors, are going to ask you what's called the idea maze. They're going to say, well, what about this? And what about that? And what if you encounter this? And you can say from your domain expertise, you know what? I've looked at all that. They don't know what they're talking about. Or, yeah, they're pretty smart, but they missed one crucial feature. And I have the inside track, the secret, the insight that is going to make this a much better bet. It's going to de-risk your investment. Still risky, still a moonshot, but you want to trust me with your money because I know something everybody else doesn't know. That's what's coming through on this deck. Continuing along, we are raising 500K. Here's the ask slide. All right. What's great about this? 500K to reach a milestone, 1 million in revenue, fulfill potential orders. That's good. It didn't say for 18 months runway or to go to market or things like that. The milestone is basically saying we've got our stuff figured out. We have $1 million in business ready to go. And now we just need your money. And I like the fact that they're only raising 500K to get to this next stage. Now, one problem that I've got is all this information. I'm going to show you. This is not necessary right here. And this, I got a few questions here, but we're going to address that in just a moment. And then you've got your last slide. And I'm on the fence on this one, okay? It says fidget cards is redefining the traditional model of trading card NFTs, bridging the gap between physical and digital collectors. It's kind of rehashing. Sometimes it's okay to put a statement at the end saying, join us, we're going to change the world. We want you to be a part of it with the contact information. I'm not a fan of this for screener decks, but for a final slide on your deck when you're pitching live, I think this is okay. Let's get back to how I would adjust this deck for the screener. I repeat, we just went through a bit of a master deck. Now I'm going to show you how to do a screener deck. I'm going to show you before and after, and I think you're going to like it. As far as the title slide is concerned, fantastic. Keep it the way that it is. This is the previous version. Remember this problem statement. Take a look at how many words you've got. Let me show you my version that I would suggest. Instead of doing two sets of numbers, 19.1 billion to 2.2 billion, I made it one number. The NFT market lost $16.9 billion. So it's just one number, right? And explains it. So I've streamlined the sentence. Meanwhile, the sports trading card memorabilia were up 33. I kept that sentence in there because I want to show the huge gap between the sports trading card memorabilia industry and the NFT industry. So take a look. All right. I have slimmed it down. This is before and this is after. You can just see the economy of words. But I'm still using the same data because I thought the problem statement was excellent. Next, solution statement. Here's the previous statement. Check it out. Take a look at the statement on the left. And then remember, I highlighted here this information. I want you to pay attention to what's going on here. So how did I change the solution slide? Now we've got one statement. We make physical smart trading cards. I kept that statement. And then I had one really powerful picture to demonstrate. In fact, I probably like a little better picture. But right here, I made this image really big. And right there, bam. Here's the solution slide, and then this is the visual to complement it. It exists in real life. If you've got real world prototypes for your startup, you want to show them right on the solution slide as much as possible. Then take a look. This is the previous version of the tap experience, no app needed. And then I moved what was on the right side, and I just put it as the headline to reinforce. So I've got narrative up here. This is the narrative, and then I put the visual under to support the narrative. That's very powerful. So what you do is you tell one big headline, and then you show it. Don't show it first, because remember, if I just had this image by itself, people are going to have to interpret it. So right away, I've got the statement up here, and then I'm going to show the evidence that this exists in real life. And I got my Bored Apes down there. The solution, I kept this in there. I like this solution, and it's more of a how it works slide in terms of explaining the solution. I like this. Then I kept the market slide. This is really good. Instead of Tam Sam Som, you might be used to my Tam Sam Som. I love Tam Sam Som. All right. But this one is just as good. Total market. And this is how much we should make if we focus. Once again, total market. If we focus here, we should make $432 million a year. And I really like this graphic on the right-hand side. Going to leave it there. Here is the previous version of the business model slide. Remember, we had two slides. I combined them together and I say we're making percent of every transaction, and I combine the previous how it works slide, the step-by-step 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just put that together to streamline it into one single slide. What's good about this slide is that the investor can pretty much read straight off, okay, we make a percentage of every transaction. This is the first one. It makes sense. The investor doesn't have to read all the other information if they don't want to, but if they want to continue the headlines, we've got a hierarchy of information. The headlines say minting, printing, distribution, and trading, and then you've got descriptions in each one. That is the way to go. If you have multiple layers of information that you want the investor to get through, competition slide, kept the competition slide. Fantastic. Do your competition slides this way if you can. The only other thing I'd be nitpicky is if you had like graphics, right? If you just put something in here and said, all right, so on this one, we're going to have green check marks, right? Green, green, green type thing. And then over here, you've got X's like X, X, X type stuff. Drives it home just a little bit more, but not necessary. The way that this was set up was fine by me. Previous version of the traction highlights. Remember, all this text was in here. We want to streamline this as much as possible. I'm going to show you how I did it right here. Highlights. All right, so notice how I put the picture on the right-hand side, and then I cut down the highlights as much as possible. And then I know for a fact this startup has got lots of other projects that are going, such as Bored Apes and other Pudgy Penguins, I think, or I forget. I'm not a big NFT person, but they've got projects going and they've got letters of intent and some other superstar athletes that are out there. Let me tell you, this is very exciting because I have the inside scoop. And so I want to tease and create some FOMO and create a traction slide that investors are going to say, wait a second, you've already got NHL goaltender Thatcher Demko. They're about to win a Stanley Cup, or they're pretty darn close this year. They're doing really well. And all these other potential $1 million in revenue. So take a look. I've consolidated this slide into something super quick with visual evidence. Powerful, if you want to put it that way. Then we get to the leadership slide. The only thing I did in the leadership slide is I only kept impressive numbers, 22 years. If you remember before, it had like 2 years under here. I got rid of that. 2 years. I only kept the most impressive numbers and I streamlined this. And then obviously you got the upper deck connection right there. So I just streamlined the slide and made it a little more efficient, as I like to do for a screener deck. Here's a previous version of the funding slide. Remember I said I've got a few issues. I really like the milestone in the header, but the issue that I had was all the information under that I thought was extraneous. So here's what I did. Take a look. We are raising $500K to launch and fulfill potential orders for over $1 million in revenue. And I put the use of funds and just made it straightforward. I didn't include any other information. The reason being is this. You want them to come and ask more questions. You don't need to put this in there. You just need to show the investor, hey, we want a $500K check. You write checks in $100K increments, or you could write the whole $500K check. We know you're going to be good for it. We want to be on the same ballpark. So come and get to the next meeting where we can tell you a little bit more about our financial plan, our roadmap, what we're going to do with the money. Those conversations happen in due diligence and the socialization phase when you're all talking with each other and going to ask you a bunch of questions. So you don't have to put it in the screener deck. Let me also go back here. Notice how we've got this use of funds here: development, marketing, management, NFT athletes. I was a little worried about how this would be perceived, so I just changed it a bit and I put technology, marketing, development, licensing. Before here, it was management. I was a little worried because it looked like management salaries was the most, $275,000. I understand that salaries and paying staff is important, but for what end? Not for the sake of management. I don't want to bring in and spend a whole bunch of money for people to manage the company. I need people to execute. So this whole team that we're going to pay salaries anyway, they're going to be focused on development and getting this stuff out there. And then instead of NFTs and athletes, I just put licensing to make it a little more flexible and use one word that everybody could understand. And then if you look down here, they already raised 100K, which I talked about. I want to put that in there, that 100K has already been launched, so that they understand that this is an ongoing project and they've done a good job with the 100K. They've used the 100K to get to the point where they could potentially be making $1 million in revenue. That's a good sign. You just have to be able to back it up when you're talking to the investors. Here's the previous version of the last slide. Remember how I said I am on the fence and don't really like statements like this for the screener decks? Well, I just made it straightforward and I put the contact information there, and I like the picture. I like the real world stuff. There you have it. Hopefully that was helpful, especially for all of you doing Web3 companies out there. This was a good example of a pitch deck that started off very strong as sort of a master deck. I've already been working with this founder, like I told you, and then we squeezed it down and streamlined it into a screener deck. All decks can always be improved and tweaked. Eventually, you're going to have multiple versions of the deck. I could see in this case having a deck where you have to outline what the technology is going to be, what protocol you're building on. That's a technical deck that is going to go into due diligence, and you want the CTO to be able to come up and answer those questions if the investor is curious about it. Hope that was helpful. As always, like I said before, do me a favor, social media thing, like, comment, subscribe. And if you have a pitch deck, just contact me, leave a comment, and I will give you feedback on it. And if I think it's going to be worthwhile, I'll use it in a video, and that would be appreciated. Send me your pitch decks. Let's see what we can do. Once again, thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.